Winning in cricket and business isn't about just one great shot. It's about consistently playing the right innings. And in cricket, as in business, success comes to those who play the long game. Ladies and gentlemen, here's where we talk about the business of sports, lessons from the IPL and beyond. I would like to take this opportunity to invite on the dais our moderator, Mr. Puneet Verma, founder and CEO of Cybrain Software Solutions and Vice President, TiE Chandigarh. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Mr. Arun Singh Dhumal, Chairman of the IPL, and as Chairman of the IPL, he's played a key role in shaping the league's growth and global success. It's really time to chak the India. All yours.
Hello. So, good afternoon, Arunji. So, school founder to cricket boss, which is the religion in India. So, what do you think? Started career as an educator, now running world biggest premium league. So, what do you think? Both are entirely different. So, how do you manage both of them?
Well, I think the basic for every human being is education, so I started with that. And things happened on the go. We were talking about failures in the previous session. Unfortunately, what we've seen in our education system, most of us, I got two edupreneurs in Mrs. Chitkara and Mr. Anirudh Gupta. Both of us are running schools. We got a circular from CBSE some 10-15 years back that nobody should fail till class 5. And then 2 years down the line, there is a circular which said you would not fail anybody till class 8. Then we had a great education minister who thought class 10th board is a bad idea. He took away the class 10th board. So the idea of education in India is nobody should fail in school, let them fail in life. Whereas it should be the other way around. Even if you fail in school, you must make it in life. Unfortunately, our education system is. And all this happened as, kids, in case they are getting less marks or in case they are getting failed, they would get into depression, and we hear so many stories that they would commit suicides. And all this change in education happened where we were wanting to make sure everybody gets through to school, to college, to universities. And now, you would know, there are a lot of studies which say, about 75-80% of our educated youth is unemployable because they have come across from the same education system wherein they said nobody should fail in school, let them fail in life. And now the government realized that, and in the previous session you were talking about failure. Failure is integral to our life. You can't succeed in every step. And what we have done with this younger lot is, we've told them even if you won't do anything, you will go to the next class and then maybe subsequent class. It may happen in school, college, university, but it is not going to happen in life. So you have to take failure in that stride. And sports is one thing wherein when you fail, you lose a game, you stand up for the next game and you come out as champion. That is the beauty of sport. That is why sports have to be integral for every education system. And I'm glad that I'm part of world's biggest league.
Founder and director of more than 5 companies and chairman of most busy board. How do you balance both?
See, when I completed my mechanical engineering, the idea was to get into my business. We are into manufacturing of pipe fitting wells and composite pipes in Jalandhar. But that was never to be. I completed my MBA and joined a multinational in Delhi. In the year 2000, I worked there for about a year. But unfortunately, that was a time wherein sales and marketing job would want you to go on a bike and make the sales pitch. And that was pre-CNG era. Delhi was so polluted. We still talk about pollution after 25 years. But it was so bad that I was diagnosed with some disease and I had to be on steroids. So doctor suggested me that you can take a break and go back. So I came back to my village in Himachal, spent about 2 weeks there. In clean air, I went back, got my X-ray done. It was much better. So they told me that in case you can be out of Delhi, that would be better for you. That is how I resigned and came back. And then this idea of starting a school came about in 2002. I started it and we've been ranked number 1 school in Jalandhar. Thanks to all the efforts of all my teachers.
A lot of hard work, which people don't realize is after every successful story, right? So, born in a very known political family of Himachal Pradesh, your father, Shri Dhumal ji, have been CM twice, and Anurag ji being a union minister. So, didn't you think that you should go to politics rather than going to cricket or founding your own company?
There are things which are beyond you. Anurag ji, frankly speaking, had no interest in politics. He was all about cricket. He played India under 19. Then he became president of HPC at the age of 25. And it was his dream to build up this stadium at Dharamshala. That is how his journey started. And when that stadium came about, he had so much of fight when the government changed with regard to takeover of that stadium and association. In the process, he became so popular that when there was next election, there was no other candidate who was found to be more suitable than Mr. Anurag Thakur. That is how he came into politics. Not many people say that politicians should not be part of sports, but here is a politician who's played under India under 19, who had built up this world's most beautiful stadium, and that paved the way for his being into politics. I was always interested in politics. I was the one who was managing elections. But as luck would have it, and I am very glad that today Anurag is in politics and he's done so well with his hard work, and I have taken a different game altogether. It is not up to us, but unfortunately when we had this case in the Supreme Court, and when the Supreme Court verdict came, all those people who were taking care of association as part of Anurag's team, suddenly with the stroke of one pen, they became ineligible and they were not to be serving on any position. So that is how I came about taking over as president of HPCL, but that was just for about, I think, week. Then subsequently we had this BCCI elections, and there also out of the 35 members that we had, there were just about 5-7 guys who had ever attended BCCI meeting. So when we had to elect those office bearer, my name was proposed as a treasurer, and that is how I became part of BCCI.
Oh, so that was my actually next question, but you already answered that how you entered to HPCA. So story is now known to everyone. So from HPCA to BCCI treasurer, managing world most richest cricket board, treasury, and then rising in multifold. How experience as an entrepreneur came as a helping hand for you?
See, when we talk about sports in India, there is one sport that you can be proud of, and that is cricket. In terms of what our team has brought for the country, in terms of being Test number 1 team, ODI number 1 team, T20 number 1 team. But then our few people thought that this is the only board which is required to be reformed besides other sports, wherein we are putting in crores of rupees, but the kind of result that we would want, we are not getting. So that is how that journey started. After that so-called reform process that happened, I would give all this credit to all the stalwarts who have run BCCI for many years, be it Mr. Bindra, Mr. Dalmia, Mr. Sharad Pawar, Mr. Anurag Thakur. They have done and put in lot of hard work over the years. And we were just there to make sure that whatever good work has been done, we improvise on that and get a better value. And that is how we have created what we were able to do.
So as everyone knows, Anurag Thakur is the most powerful name in Indian cricket history. Do you see any role of Big Brother for your elevation in Indian cricket to the topmost position?
Not really. He got busy with his politics. Like I told you, there was no choice when it came to election at that point in time. There were very handful of people who were ever part of that board meeting who could have taken that position. If I give you my example, my first board meeting was in 2009, and the kind of people that were there in that board meeting were like Mr. Sharad Pawar, Mr. Srinivasan, Mr. Dalmia, Mr. Scindia, Mr. Arun Jaitley. That was my first meeting, and bank opposite was Mr. Narendra Modi, who came as president of GCA. So I was thinking to myself that this BCCI boardroom it might be richer than Manmohan Singh's cabinet at that point in time. So that were the kind of stalwarts who have led the BCCI all these years, and that is what we've seen, this kind of power that we yield in the world of cricket is because of the good work done over the years.
True, true. So raising money, adding magic and increasing revenue multifold for BCCI, that never happened before. So what magic you added?
I think it is the way this league has been planned. It has been a phenomenal cricket tournament, so to say. You were talking of unicorns. I think IPL for me is number one making India brand post-independence. With the kind of valuations that we have seen, the average team value when it was given in 2008 was about 325 crore, which came to about 6,500 crore when the last two teams got auctioned in the year 2022. The media right value to begin with in 2008 was about 6,000 crore for about a 10-year period, which has gone to 48,000 crore for this 5-year period. So that is how this league has got scaled up, and it is probably the first decacon, so to say, in the sports industry. And the way it is going, it is the number 2 in terms of value of any sporting league across the globe. And we are working very hard to make sure that in the times to come, it turns out to be number 1 sporting league in the world.
Fantastic, fantastic. Mesmerizing, isn't it? So many unicorn into a single company. We can treat it like that. So journey from BCCI treasurer to IPL chairman, glamour added, power added, money added, controversies, lot of things changed. How you adopted to this new change in your life?
I think it has been free of controversies. I am very glad with the fact that there is no controversy with regard to anything during the last 4-5 years. It's been growing phenomenally, and we are looking forward for the coming season. This being the 18th edition of IPL, and 18, as you know, is a very special number in anybody's life. So we are all looking forward to that.
Everybody get a voting right at that time. So addition of Women Premier League, I believe that has happened during your tenure only. So how that idea chipped into your mind?
See, that is, the idea has been doing around for a long time, but unfortunately in between, because of this reform process, we had people running the board which were not part of BCCI per se. So as soon as we took over, we started working on the idea, because women cricket is taking off and we were wanting to start with this league, and it has got a phenomenal response. This is the 3rd edition, and what we've seen so far, it has grown phenomenally. It has given a platform to a lot of young girls who would have imagined a few years back that, a player like Smriti Mandhana would get auctioned for 3.4 crore for playing just about 7 to 9 games in a season. So there is a kind of value addition that has happened, and just 3 years, it is the 2nd most valuable women sporting league in the world.
Wow. So, what do you think? What is future ahead for Women Premier League and women cricket in India?
See, if you would have seen this season, this has been a phenomenal rise. We have had a run chase of 200. Who would have imagined for a women T20 game to have a chase of 200 runs? We have had maximum sixes hit in inning, 8 sixes hit. We have had a super over, and the kind of response that we have seen in terms of stadium attendance, it has got a phenomenal response, and I'm sure it is going to grow only in the times to come.
Himachal is treated as one of the most tedious state to build a stadium. So you build a stadium in Dharamshala that is most beautiful in the world, and now almost every test playing nation has played in that stadium. Then now you've created more three stadiums in Himachal. So what do you think? Will we be able to have more international stadiums coming into Himachal?
I think more international stadiums would not make sense because now every state association per se has about one good international stadium. There are associations like say Gujarat or Maharashtra who've got about three good international stadiums. And the matches that you get are all by rotation. So it doesn't make sense to have more international stadiums, but definitely more cricket grounds and more stadiums, so to say, to give the platform to young budding cricketers to come and perform. So that is in our agenda, and we are wanting to put a good ground and a reasonably good stadium in every district of Himachal. The problem with Himachal is Himachal being the very small land holdings, and you would have to depend on the government to give you the land. So as soon as we are able to manage the land, we are hopeful that we'll create a good stadium and good cricket infrastructure across the length and breadth of the state.
India-New Zealand World Cup match happened in Dharamshala. A lot of tickets requests might have come to you. So how did you manage that?
That is the case with every game, because the kind of fan base that we have for cricket and the number of sheer number that we have, 1.4 billion people wanting to watch a game, it is very difficult to watch for everyone in the stadium. But definitely we are trying to improve the conditions, and we are wanting to increase the capacities in each and every stadium. We have to be proud of the fact that the world's largest cricket stadium is in India, that is Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad. So that is the kind of infrastructure that we are building across the country. And going down the line, we are wanting to work on the fan experience. If you would have gone and seen a game in England and Australia, per se it is altogether a different fan experience because of the kind of fans also that you have and the kind of stadium infrastructure that they have built. But we are continuously working on that you get the same kind of experience in India. And we are working on a smart stadium project so that you have free access and easy access available to the stadium, and improving on every aspect so that when you go and view a match in the stadium, you get the same experience.
A day before yesterday you were in Dubai. I believe tomorrow also you'll be in Dubai for the final ICC Champions Trophy match. So what are you predicting? Who's going to win the title?
See, that's the best thing about sport. You can't predict who's going to win. That is why you are excited to go and watch that game. If you get to know who's going to win, there would be no interest. That is what I've seen, many a time, people would want India to win every game. But if India starts to win every game, then maybe there will be no interest left in that game. The beauty of the game is, till the last ball is bowled, you don't get to know who's going to win. That is what excites you to go to the stadium and spend 3 hours, 8 hours in that stadium. And with T20 cricket, I think it has transformed the cricket, so to say. You hardly see any test match ending in a draw now. That is the beauty of T20 cricket. I know Sachin Tendulkar, having scored 200 runs, and made a big headline that Sachin scored first 200 runs in a ODI. Now somebody like Rohit Sharma has already scored 200 runs. 250, 300 used to be a very big total in ODI at one point in time. Now you're getting 250, 300 runs in a T20 game, and maybe you get a chase of 400 runs in ODI cricket. That is the beauty of this IPL and T20 cricket, that it has changed the world cricket for good. The kind of bench strength that you see, whether it is India or any country for that matter, it has improved that. You have all these cricketers longing for this tournament IPL. We get so many requests from foreign boards that our so and so player would not be available for IPL because he is wanting to play for some national game, but then the player would want to come and play IPL vis-a-vis any other game that he would want to. That is the power of cricket, and that is the power of IPL. And going forward, I am hoping that it will only grow and bring more laurels and to our country.
Still, as a cricket lover, I hope India will win on 9th. So I'll go with rapid fire now. So Dhuman Saab or Anurag Bhai, which one come to your mind first?
Definitely my father.
Think yourself as an IPL team owner, which one you would like to own?
No, I would not like to own. I leave it to the owners. They've been great partners and they've done a great job with how they have led their franchises. And we would like to compliment for the way they have worked with BCCI to create this great league, which is an example for everyone across the globe. About 5-10 years back, BCCI would get requests from other foreign boards that we would want to play bilateral cricket with you. But post IPL, every other country is wanting to start their own league. There are many countries who don't have a test playing status or ODI playing status, but still they are wanting to start with leagues. That is the power of cricket and IPL. You would have seen this MLC which has been started in USA. They don't have test status, they don't have ODI status, but given the power of IPL and what it has brought to the cricketing world, it has aspired many other countries to follow this route so that they can create more pension for themselves.
One cricket player you admire a lot.
I think to begin with it has to be Kapil Paji because the way he transformed Indian cricket in '83.
And good thing is that Kapil ji is from Chandigarh only. He's from Chandigarh only.
Yeah, but at that point in time, nobody believed in Team India, nobody believed in anybody for that matter, and we were not expected to go to the semi-final. I remember tickets were already booked that they will be back before that thing starts. But that guy made the team believe in him, and the moment we won that '83 World Cup, and rest is, I would say, history. That has transformed Indian cricket for all times.
Favorite memory from any cricket match? One of the favorite memory from cricket I would like to say.
I think for me it has to be 2011 World Cup. Then Dhoni hit that six and won us that ODI World Cup in Mumbai.
Most exciting thing which will happen in 2025 men IPL.
I think it is going to be a very exciting tournament because we have a new team mix after this mega auction that we have had. We have new leaders in Lucknow, Punjab, Delhi who are going to give in their best, and we are hoping, this being 18th edition, it is going to be a cracker of a tournament.
One IPL team will spend a lot on marketing, lot on gas, but turn out a loser most of the time. And one IPL team will spend a lot on marketing, but they turn out a loser, they never won the title.
No, I think they've done a phenomenal job as far as marketing is concerned. In terms of fan engagement, I would say RCB has done a phenomenal job. Though they have not won a tournament, as men's IPL, they were champions in WPL last year around, but they have done phenomenal work as far as fan engagement is concerned. And so to say, Mumbai and CSK, they have also done a phenomenal job as far as fan engagement and marketing is concerned.
My last question, I believe time is over. BCCI or IPL, what come up first to your mind?
Definitely BCCI because there you play for the country.
Thank you so much, Arunji. So, for Q&A, I don't have time, so please forgive me for the same. Thank you so much for a nice session. Thank you.
Thank you. Indeed a pleasure to be here.
I would just request you to stay back for a moment and forgive me also, I couldn't allow the Q&A, but anyways, in cricket as an entrepreneurship, there is a lesson to be learned. One has to adapt, innovate, and never take their eyes off the ball. We're glad to have had this conversation today. Thank you so much for being here with us at TICON 2025. And could I quickly request Mr. Vishal Kedia, Mr. Sandeep Kapil, and Dr. Madhu Chitkara to join me on the dais to felicitate this respective panel. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Mr. Arun Singh Dhumal, Chairman of the Indian Premier League. And as Chairman, he's played a key role in shaping the league's growth and global success. His leadership has ensured that the IPL remains one of the world's most watched cricket tournaments. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Mr. Arun Singh Dhumal, Chairman of the IPL. And now for our moderator, Mr. Puneet Verma, Founder and CEO, Cybrain Software Solutions, and Vice President, TiE Chandigarh. Many thanks to you, sir. The next panel, ladies and gentlemen, brings together policymakers and a tech entrepreneur to discuss infrastructure, investment, and policy frameworks, particularly to find out what exactly will drive Mohali's rise as a key player in India's tech revolution. Let me now quickly introduce you to the panel on building a thriving regional ecosystem, a playbook for growth. I'd like to first up invite our moderator, Mr. Piyush Garg, Vice President, SEED, Chitkara University, responsible for shaping academic programs and institutional growth. Let's give it up for our speaker, Mr. Amit Dhaka, IAS, CEO, Invest Punjab, driving investment and business-friendly policies. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in inviting Mr. Amit Dhaka, CEO, Invest Punjab. Let's also extend a warm welcome to Dr. Rudra Pratap, founding Vice Chancellor, Plaksha University, and a pioneer in micro and nano electromechanical systems. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Dr. Rudra Pratap, founding Vice Chancellor, Plaksha University. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's extend a warm welcome to Ms. Seema Bansal, Vice Chairperson, Punjab Development Commission. She's spearheading strategic initiatives for regional development. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Ms. Seema Bansal, Vice Chairperson, Punjab Development Commission, and Mr. Manipal Dhariwal, co-founder and CEO, NetSmarts, leading a global team to drive digital transformation and tech innovation. And with that, I hand it over to our moderator, Mr. Piyush Garg, to take this forward.
So a very good morning to all of you, those who are still actually cherishing the amazing lunch which we had, and in the spirits of actually having a tea or a cup of coffee, and a very amazing and beautiful good afternoon to everyone else. So, do I need to repeat good morning or good afternoon? Great. This panel which we have today, it's actually one of the amazing panels, and I was really looking forward to. When we talk about Mohali and Mohali region per se, this is becoming as a hub for innovation, technology, new age technologies to be very specific. And when we talk about this, the role of policymakers, academicians, and seasoned entrepreneurs, they play a critical role. So today I have with us two amazing policymakers, a brilliant academician, and a seasoned entrepreneur, and a lifelong learner with you. And in the interest of full disclosures,